St. Louis is a mixed bag. It absolutely is. And whether you move here and love it or you move here and absolutely hate it could depend on a lot of things, right? There's a lot that goes into that situation. But here's what I'll tell you right now. If you're moving to St. Louis and you are only focusing on the negatives, the bad stuff, that is all you will see when you get here. And you're not gonna like it, I'll tell you right now. St. Louis is not perfect, nor is any other city. I've read the forums, I read the comments on these videos, I hear people all the time and what they say. There's a lot that you could look at in a good or bad way, and there's a lot you could talk about with the good, the bad, and the ugly of St. Louis. But in this video, we're gonna go over multiple different pros and cons, financially, socially, and just in terms of lifestyle in St. Louis if you're moving here. So let's get right to it. Hey, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the Living St. Louis channel. My name is Jacob Peistrup. So in this video, we're going over multiple different pros and cons and different perspectives on the good, the bad, and the ugly with St. Louis. Now, this could apply directly to you, or it might not even be relevant to you if you're moving to St. Louis. This is based on my experience with a lot of clients I've helped move to St. Louis from all walks of life and in all areas of St. Louis, right? It depends. Take this with a grain of salt, more like a chunk, like a Himalayan salt lamp chunk of salt, because this might not matter to you very much, or it might matter a lot. So we're talking about it today. And if you're moving to St. Louis, if you want some help buying a house, buying a condo, figuring out where you fit in, send us an email, send us a text. My team and I are licensed realtors in St. Louis. That is what we're here for. That's why we do these videos, and we always love getting to hear from new people who are moving to the area. Get in touch with us if you want to work together, use our resources to help you with that process. We got you covered. Starting right off, money. Financially, what's good, what's bad, what should you know? Now, the last time I did a pros and cons video, like last year, I started off with affordability, right? St. Louis is affordable, it's cheap, isn't it? Yes and no. Relatively, compared to other markets in the country, yeah, St. Louis is way cheaper than expensive places on the East Coast, the West Coast, hello, California. It's cheaper, to buy a house or buy a condo, but I mean, things are getting expensive. Prices are going up. The cost of buying a place is going up, renting is getting expensive, gas, taxes, like everything costs more money. So St. Louis is not as affordable as it used to be a year ago. Going along with that, it is not easy to buy a house or buy a condo right now. Let me tell you, it is freaking difficult getting contracts accepted still. Now, it is definitely more hit or miss with, is it gonna be competitive or not? Depends on the area, the price point, all that good stuff. But things are not as easy as you would expect after rates have doubled. Like, it is still difficult if you're moving, let alone to a new city from somewhere else. Now, some good news with that, if you already own a house, I mean, you're looking at some phenomenal appreciation. If you've owned for like at least a year or two, like you will see that it's gone up in value, it's gone up in price if you're selling. So that's the good news with that, but really, like, it is still crazy busy in the market these days, even with higher rates. But I mean, you can still go find like some good, cheap Midwestern land if that's what you're looking for. Like, if you want big property, if you want the peace and quiet, like, you can still find that, relatively cheap. You're gonna be further outside the city, more rural, more country, but if you want that, it's still, relatively not as high as other parts of the country. So that is some good news with St. Louis. Like, things did not explode here during COVID, like the Denvers, the Nashvilles, the Floridas of the world. Like, things have been crazy and busy, but not to the extent it has been in other parts of the country. And here's how I put it, the three things I ask when, people are moving to St. Louis. Where are you from? Like, where are you moving from? What is your context? What's your story? Because someone moving here from another part in the Midwest will have a different experience than someone moving here from the East Coast or the West Coast. It's a different style. We do things differently. Second question, where are you interested in moving to in St. Louis? Are we talking the city, the suburbs, the rural exurbs? Are you looking at Missouri or Illinois? Illinois is 25% of the St. Louis metro. I focus on Missouri. This is my area of expertise. I have a real estate license in Illinois that I do not use because I don't know it very well. But there's a lot to pick from. There's a lot of different areas you could choose and either end up in the right place or go wrong if you don't, love the place you end up living here. And the third is, what do you want? Right? What do you value? What is important to you? Because people have a lot of different things they look for when they're moving here. Are you a young professional who wants to live with people your own age? Or are you married with kids and you want to get the nicest house in the subdivision with the biggest pool and the biggest playground? Like, those are two different people moving to St. Louis. So what do you want? And I mean, like, that's the thing. I can tell you, our whole job is helping people move here who are not from here. They don't know it. And across all demographics, all different walks of life, I can tell you, you could go really right or really wrong picking a place to live if you just end up in a place that does not match your style. Like, what you're expecting and what you're, getting in St. Louis could be different things. And if so, you might not love that. Next up, socially, the pros and the cons of just people, the way we treat each other in St. Louis. The way I put it, you're dealing with the Midwestern niceness and also the small town mentality throughout different parts of St. Louis. St. Louis is a really, really big, small town. Depends on where you go, but you will notice that when you live in St. Louis. Depends on where you go. Like, people can be really nice, really sweet and charming, and in other parts, people can be unwelcoming, like this small town mindset. You will see both of those in St. Louis. St. Louis is very interconnected, and in some ways, being from here has a benefit over new people to the area. Like, it's interconnected. The longer you're here, the smaller your social circle will become because it gets more interconnected. People know each other. Depending on the industry you're in, what you do for a living, how connected you are and who you know, that could help you, or that could be a detriment, when living in St. Louis. And it's not always a big deal, but like, you notice it in subtle ways, like would you go to high school? Like, that's, it's like people will categorize you based off what you say, because people know the high schools, they want to know your background. Like, oh, would you go to high school? And if you're not from here, oh my God, it makes you look different. Even the fact of like people asking you where you went to high school, you'll notice that not everyone does. And like, in some parts, that's a really big question. And in some parts, no one gives a shit where you went to high school. Like, it depends on where you go. Because you gotta remember, there's 2.8 million people in the St. Louis metro. Like, between St. Louis, in Missouri and Illinois, there's a lot of people here. So like, it's a big area. You could, feel super welcome, super, at home in one area, and you might absolutely hate the people in a different part of town. And again, really depends, where are you from? Because if you're moving from the East Coast or the West Coast, further away, that's gonna be different from someone who's moving from the Midwest. Like, if you're moving here from Chicago or Nashville, those are places where people will go back and forth a lot. So, one person might be better connected, might get along way better in a small, big city like St. Louis versus someone who is a complete outsider, from St. Louis. And here's the thing I can tell you, because we see this all the time, that you might not even realize when moving to St. Louis. The number of people who are moving to St. Louis that are actually moving back to St. Louis, meaning they were born here or they were raised here, went to high school or college in St. Louis, and then are moving back to St. Louis after taking a 5, 10, 15-year hiatus. People come back to St. Louis, and that's a big thing where, someone moving here who is a complete stranger, does not know anyone, will have a different experience from someone who's moving back to St. Louis, even after 20, 30 years, and it's gonna be very different from what they remember. It's different. If you have that aspect of originally somehow being from St. Louis, it just makes a difference. And again, depends on, your circumstances and what you value. Because this is the kind of thing where we've heard, how wonderful and how awesome and how, great the people are in St. Louis from our clients who've moved here. They love their neighbors, they love their friends, they love the other parents at school, and it's great. We've also heard that it's tough to start from scratch. It's tough to start a business, build a network, make connections in St. Louis if you come here and you either have none of that or not very much of it. It's really just that social network, like everyone knows each other in some way, and if you're part of that or not, could be a pro or a con for you. Next up, under social pros and cons, I say this in every pros and cons video, St. Louis and its issues with race, discrimination in general, let's be real. Like, if you've read your history, Missouri Compromise, Delmar Divide, the redlining, the blockbusting, like all the stuff that goes into this, it's real. I think we can agree this topic of conversation comes up more so with some cities than others. And I think we can agree St. Louis might be one of those cities where it's more of a relevant discussion if you're moving here. People have asked very specific questions. I'm a white dude. I'm not the best person to ask about some of these things. Like, I had a comfortable upbringing. I don't have that perspective. I'm not trying to pretend that I do. but it's still something you should know and consider depending on who, your circumstances if you're moving to St. Louis. I don't do BS, I say it the way it is. This is either very much on your mind or not at all if you're moving to St. Louis. Now moving on to some pros and cons with the area, different neighborhoods, the lifestyle, the kind of living in St. Louis. Again, it's a mixed bag. St. Louis has some rough areas. It has some, rundown neighborhoods that you want to avoid. St. Louis also has some gorgeous, high-end, very affluent areas that are beautiful. You have a night and day difference on two different sides of town in St. Louis. So you have both. If you're someone who really wants a historic home, that architectural charm, something with a story behind it, you'll find that. You'll also find some brand new, mass developed suburbs that are just like McMansion Central. Like you got both of those going on in St. Louis. The city and the county are two different ball games. St. Louis City versus St. Louis County. If you're living in one, if you're working in one, different neighborhoods, different people, different kind of lifestyle. The further out you go, St. Charles County versus St. Louis County. Again, very different. The more rural you get versus the more suburban you are, you got a lot to pick from. And you might love some of these areas and you might absolutely hate some of these other areas. So it depends. So that's again why it's just a really big thing with narrowing in on what feels right to you, what are you looking for, what is most important to you when you're moving here. Because that decision, you don't want to pick the wrong area and then end up hating St. Louis because you don't like where you live. And the biggest pro I can give with living in St. Louis or moving to St. Louis and just the areas you'll see is that if you get here and you don't like the area you're in, you're probably just not in the right area for you. Like, trust me, this is what I do. I have seen everywhere in St. Louis, and there's so much that you would not know exists if you're just living in the city versus the county versus somewhere way far out. Like, there is a lot to pick from. If you don't find your style, you gotta look somewhere else. Now, it's one thing if you just don't like the people, like if you hate everyone you meet, like you've been to different places in St. Louis and you don't like the people, that's different. But as far as, the lifestyle, the quality of life, the places you'll see, there's a lot to pick from. And a lot of people in St. Louis that you talk to probably don't know the rest of it exists because people, stay within their neighborhood, they stay in their area. They don't always venture out to see what else is out there, and myself included. Like some of these places I didn't even know existed until I got into real estate, and then I have clients out there and we're, looking at all these houses. I'm like, holy shit. Like 3 years ago, I'm like, wow, like I, didn't know that existed, didn't know that was out there. Like there's a lot to see. Like it'll surprise you, it even surprises me. So there's a lot to pick from, and there's a lot of differences between different parts of St. Louis. So you can find the right place for you. I'm confident because we're good at this. I can promise you you'll find somewhere. And that's the thing I can tell you. We have reach outs from people moving to all parts of St. Louis. Like we've seen it, we've been there, done that. We've seen the houses, the neighborhoods, the styles. You got everything going on, and there's a lot to pick from. So there's a lot of places you can go right and a lot of places you can go very wrong if it doesn't match your style and you end up picking the wrong area when you're moving to St. Louis. And nobody wants that. So if you're moving to St. Louis, if you want some help with that process, send us an email or send us a quick text. Let's get in touch, get that ball rolling to help you get to St. Louis. My team and I love all of our clients from the YouTube channel. You guys are always great to work with. So until then, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you take care. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video on the Living St. Louis channel.